Hey, what's up guys, Garden here, coming to you guys with a video today, having a bit of a discussion about the increase that we've noticed of power lately to our units. Due to the new Vanguard series, we did get a sneak preview at one of the new grade 3s for Royal Paladin being Alfred Early, but this time he's coming with a 13k base power, which is definitely interesting. It does make me think that obviously other grade 3s will also have the 13k base power. But it's also made me think about how the power has changed over the years, ever since the beginning of Vanguard. And I sort of wanted to go through that with you now. But something also worth noting is I also noticed that the trigger values have gone up as well on certain different types. So we'll look into that later on. So at the very beginning of Vanguard, we of course had the basic 10k base power. Very simplistic, 10k base power was quite simple to work with. Just you needed to bear in mind, know your multiples of 5 and stuff like that. If you got a 10k attacker, hit the Vanguard. So obviously your grade 2 vanillas could do that with your 10k bases. So pretty interesting, because we then move into the cross rides at the end of the classic Vanguard. Now Majesty Lord Blaster was a 12k base, because he needed both Blaster Blade and Blaster Dark and the Soul. But we also had Dragonic Overlord at the end, and of course Phantom Blaster Overlord. And they were 13k base, so they were a little bit more harder to hit. You wouldn't think that the extra 1000 matters that much, but well, if you don't have a booster to go over to go with that Majesty Lord at the 12, then you pretty much need to get a trigger to hit them. So it does matter. Those extra little 1Ks do matter in the long run. Even today it still matters, so yeah. So we're then going to swiftly move into the Limit Break arc. So the 10k base still was still the starting point, I would say, because we had things like Ezel and Garmor. Now I'm mainly going to talk about the clans I played, obviously, but this goes for like pretty much most other clans as well. But yeah, we had the 10k bases, but this was when we noticed the 11k base come in. I think it was with Maelstrom. And also the Narukami card as well. Oh, what's he called? Dragonic Kaiser Vermilion. I think I've remembered it. Yeah. Those two had 11k bases, which again, it sort of mattered and it sort of didn't, but in the like I said before, a Vanguard with a higher base power is always going to be better to have, because that means units will need way of gaining power, or at least be that power in order to hit them. So yeah. And then towards the end of the Limit Break arc, we also did get some cross rides. It's basically just what we had before, the 13k base cross ride with Platina Ezel, the Blood, and also Maelstrom's cross ride as well. So yeah, it was now when we went into the break ride format, which 11k base now became the norm, and this actually goes on even today. Well, kinda. I'll explain that later on. So the 11k base was started to be the norm now from the break ride format and onwards. And of course, we did get some cross rides coming in fact, quite a few, due to the fact that we had the reverse units back then as well. So not only did the typical clans get the cross rides, the protagonists and stuff like that, but also every other clan had a cross ride, which I kind of like that. It kind of would have annoyed me personally to have a reverse unit as my cross ride, because I don't know, I like being the good guy, I suppose, but yeah, it was nice that every clan had the ability to go into a cross ride. But also we had all these sub clans as well. So like for Gold Paladin Liberator, but you also had the Royal Paladin Jewel Knights, and then you also had like Narukami Eradicators and all these other subtype names. So it was more name based, but still the same concept with the power gains over time. And then we go into Legion. Now, Legion was basically the same. Legion format was the 11k base. However, it was a little bit more strange, because we did have the Vanguard at 11k base, but if you were in Legion, your Vanguard would pretty much attack for a 20k base power, unboosted, which is pretty crazy. In in retrospect about how the game has evolved. But then Legion kinda came in handy later on with Legion revivals. So they brought back the old, limit break cards and stuff like that, and it was exceptionally powerful, especially when the old grade 3s had a Vanguard ability. So not only did you have a Legion, which had both grade 3s, but all of the effects were, taken into mind. Something like Die Kaiser comes to mind, for example. But also, I think Dragonic Kaiser Vermilion had a pretty good Legion revival as well. But yeah, that's a mechanic where it wasn't necessarily... I wouldn't say it was one of the best ones that they did. It was okay, but it was just a bit awkward with the way that the clans got them and acquired them, and not every clan got them straight away. It was very muddled up, in my opinion. But yeah, the Legion revival was a kind of cool way to sort of use Legion in a way to bring the older stuff back and, make powerful Vanguard attacks and abilities go off. So that's pretty cool. But then, obviously, we rolled into G-Series pretty quickly after Legion format. And the 11k base still stuck with us. So 11k was essentially just the norm, and it's been the norm for a really long time now. Like I said, ever since Break Ride format, it's always been 11k base. But as of lately, I think it was in the most recent set with the Stark Zeroth Dragon. I think Gallop has now got a 13k base Vanguard grade 3. I can't exactly remember if there's any condition to meet to have the 13k base, like if you need something in the soul or not. But it's cool to see 13k base come back, because, we haven't seen a cross-ride-esque power unit in a while. But yeah, Gallop got the 13k base, and here we are with the new series announced, and we now have the brand new grade 3s, which are going to have 13k base power. Now, only Alfred has been confirmed so far. We still don't know what the other grade 3s are going to be like. I can only assume that they're going to be 13k base, because it seems like they just inherently want to make units more powerful with the numbers. And also, we did notice that the new Blaster Blade has 10,000 power as well, so he's gone up in the world from 9 to 10. So yeah. It's going to be interesting, but the other topic we sort of have to talk about a little bit in this is the triggers. So triggers are going to be giving 10,000 power now with their trigger effect. And of course, crits will give crits, heal will heal, blah, blah, blah. We still need to see what front triggers are in terms of not what they do, but what shield value they've got. In my opinion, I would assume that they're going to have 5k shield, and this is why. A front trigger will give 10k power to your entire front row. That's very good, especially in a defensive play. Draw triggers are always decent for defensive triggers because you gave power to a unit and then you drew an extra card. So you had an extra card to use for guarding. It could have been something like a perfect guard, for example. But yeah, front triggers giving 10k power to your front row. Not only does it make your rear guards more difficult now to attack, but also your Vanguard will just get a massive buff, because on the front trigger it says all the front rows get 10. So I assume that means the Vanguard gets 10, unless I misread it and it's only the rear guards that get 10. I'm not too sure. But if it is the Vanguard, that would be crazy, because not only do you get the 10k from the trigger itself, but you also get 10k from the activation of the trigger. I don't know. I'd imagine it's only the rear guards, but I'm pretty certain that it said your entire front row get 10k power, which is pretty crazy. So yeah. But yeah, the critical triggers have 15k shield, draw triggers have 5 as normal, but heal triggers have 20,000 shield, which is, wow, that's pretty big. So I can only imagine they've done this sort of like pretty much the same direction that the G Guardians were meant for. So you traded in a 10k shield for a 15k shield, but because most G Guardians anyway had effects to increase their shield, you had like 20k shields and, higher essentially. So I think it's nice that they've kept the heal trigger to be the, the protective trigger. So it's going to have the highest shield value. I think that's a good decision. But yeah, overall, I think it's really cool that they've made the trigger values a bit different and varied with the different types that there are. And I can only say that it's going to take a little bit of time before we can wrap our brains around the new magical numbers that we're going to have to meet now. It shouldn't be as difficult for those players who dealt with cross rides in the past, because you'll be more familiar with the number that you got to meet. But of course, like, you know, 13k base, you're aiming for things like 18,000 and 23,000 and 28,000. You know, still going up in fives. But it is cool that both you and your opponent will still be able to guard these attack, potentially with just one trigger, you know, with its like the 20k shield from the heal, or something like a 15k shield from your criticals. I also believe some grade 2s got a bit of a buff in their shields as well, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But yeah, I thought that was a pretty interesting topic to talk about. It has been really interesting to look back in the past to see how the base power of units has gone up over time. I do like the shield value of triggers has been altered. Some are a lot higher and some are still the regular 5k. But, you know, something like a draw trigger has the potential value of netting you that card either for a combo piece or potentially a perfect guard draw. So yeah, I can understand why they kept the draw at 5, but yeah, I still think we need to find out what the front trigger based shield is going to be, but I think it might be 5, if not 10, but I think 10's still a little bit too high, especially considering the effect that the front trigger has. So yeah, guys, that's going to be the video. Hope you guys enjoyed listening. I will be doing a little bit more content, hopefully, and talking about the other new things that we found out recently. And yeah, I hope you look forward to it. So thank you guys for listening, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.